Welcome to the orientation for applicants for the 2022 Rhonda Weiss National Technical Assistance Center to improve state capacity to collect, report, analyze, and use accurate IDEA data in accessible formats, or the 84.373Q. This grant competition is funded by the Office of Special Education Programs and the Office of Special Education and Rehabilitative Services at the U.S. Department of Education. I am Rebecca Smith, a project officer at OSEP, and I will be running you through this presentation today. I would like to go over some caveats before diving into this webinar. First, the intent of this presentation is to provide guidance only, and the information contained in this webinar provides a general summary of the information contained in the notice inviting applications and the application package. Therefore, it's imperative that all prospective applicants read the entire notice, application package, and any additional relevant information. In addition, applicants are encouraged to listen to a more general webinar entitled Applying for Office of Special Education Programs Discretionary Grants for an orientation to the overall process. The webinar can be found at osepideasthatwork.org, the same location that houses the link to this recording. Today, I will cover the following areas: general information, key terms, absolute priority and purpose, selection criteria, submission information, and contacts. To start with general information, the notice inviting applications was published in the Federal Register on July 12th, 2022. I'd encourage all applicants to be very aware of the deadline. Applications are due no later than 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on August 22nd, 2022. We highly advise not to wait until the last day to submit your application to avoid any possible technical difficulties on either end.
The estimated available funds for this grant are $3 million, with a maximum award of $3 million for a single budget period of up to 12 months. The project period is up to 60 months, with one estimated award.
So who is eligible for this competition? SEAs, state LAs under Part C of the IDEA, LEAs, including public charter schools that are considered LEAs under state law, IHEs, other public agencies, private nonprofit organizations, freely associated states and outlying areas, Indian tribes or tribal organizations, and for-profit organizations are all eligible applicants. There are a few terms for this priority that I would like to highlight. I won't spend a long time on any of them, as their information is in the notice inviting applications and application packet. However, I do want to draw your attention to them. The first term is open licensing. Unless an exception applies, if you're awarded a grant under this competition, you will be required to openly license the public grant deliverables created in whole or in part with department grant funds. Additional information on open licensing requirements that apply can be found in 2 CFR 3474.20. Next, this grant requires universal, targeted, and intensive technical assistance to be provided. Definitions and examples of how this TA can be provided are available in the footnotes section of the notice inviting applications. Briefly, universal TA means TA and information provided to independent users through their own initiative. Targeted TA means TA services based on needs common to multiple recipients and not extensively individualized. Examples of this are hosting regional or national conferences and hosting conference calls that are designed around the needs of the recipients. And intensive TA means services that are often provided on-site and require a stable, ongoing relationship between the Accessible Data Center staff and the TA recipient. Next, I want to draw your attention to resources surrounding the logic model and conceptual framework that will be part of your application. Applicants may find 2 websites provided here and in the NIA useful in designing and sharing these components of their proposals. Finally, the term evidence-based practices is defined for those requirements as, at a minimum, demonstrating a rationale as defined in 34 CFR 77.1, based on high-quality research findings or positive evaluation that such activity, strategy, or intervention is likely to improve student outcomes or other relevant outcomes. Okay, so let's talk a bit about the priority itself. This is an absolute priority, meaning we will only consider applications that meet the full requirements of this priority. The purpose of the priority is to establish the Rhonda Weiss National Technical Assistance Center to improve state capacity to collect, report, analyze, and use accurate IDEA data in accessible formats, or Accessible Data Center for short. The Accessible Data Center will increase the capacity of states to collect, report, analyze, and use IDEA Part B and Part C data reported under IDEA Sections 616 and 618 in accessible formats by, first, developing an openly licensed software program that allows states to report and publish data products that are accessible, usable, and manipulable by persons with disabilities, particularly those with blindness, visual impairments, motor impairments, and intellectual disabilities, as well as those persons without disabilities. And 2, providing technical assistance on accessible data reporting and publication. This priority is from allowable activities specified in or otherwise authorized in Section 611C1 of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. For a little background information, the center is named in remembrance of Rhonda Weiss, who was a senior attorney at the U.S. Department of Education. Rhonda was a staunch advocate for disability rights and a champion for ensuring equity and accessibility for persons with disabilities. You can learn more about Rhonda Weiss and her work at the Washington Post article linked in this slide and in the notice inviting applications. The next several slides describe the programmatic outcomes and application requirements that applicants must meet. Again, this is just an overview, and applicants are highly encouraged to consult the NIA and application package for additional guidance. The first requirement specifies the outcomes that the project must be designed to achieve. That is, projects must achieve at a minimum the following outcomes: improved accessibility of IDEA Parts B and Part C data reported and published under IDEA Sections 616 and 618, increased capacity of states to collect, report, analyze, and use high-quality IDEA Part B and Part C data in accessible formats, development of an open license accessible software program for the publication of dynamic data products consistent with the open licensing requirement in 2 CFR 3474.20, and development and documentation of a knowledge base related to the accessible reporting and dynamic presentation of data. In addition to the expected outcomes to be considered for funding under this priority, applicants must show how the center will provide a range of targeted and general TA products and services. Such TA must include, at a minimum, working with the department to develop open source electronic tools to assist states in reporting their IDEA data in accessible formats that allow for dynamic visualizations that can be manipulated for persons with and without disabilities. The tools must utilize accessibility best practices, exceed all federal accessibility requirements, and be designed to accommodate continued enhancements to meet states' changing needs and updates in accessibility best practice. Developing a plan to maintain appropriate functionality of the open source electronic tools described in paragraph A, as changes are made to data collections, reporting requirements, accessibility best practices, and accessibility requirements. Developing universal TA products, including a user manual and instructions, and conducting training with state staff on use of the open source electronic tools, and developing white papers and presentations that include tools and solutions to challenges in the collection, reporting, analysis, and use of IDEA data in accessible formats. So now let's talk about the selection criteria for this grant. As part of the process of making funding recommendations, reviewers will judge the quality of the application using 5 selection criteria. Each application can receive up to a total of 100 points, with significance of the project receiving up to 10 points, quality of project services and design up to 35 points, quality of project evaluation up to 15 points, adequacy of resources and quality of project personnel up to 15 points, and quality of the management plan up to 25 points. The NIA and the application package contain information on sub-criteria within each selection criteria, as well as what should be included in the application to address each criteria. Applicants are strongly encouraged to read these carefully when preparing the application narrative. To discuss the significance of the project, the Secretary will consider the following factors: the extent to which specific gaps or weaknesses in service, infrastructure, or opportunities have been identified and will be addressed by the proposed project, including the nature and magnitude of those gaps or weaknesses, the importance or magnitude of the results or outcomes likely to be attained by the proposed project. For quality of project services and design, the Secretary considers the quality and sufficiency of strategies for ensuring equal access and treatment of eligible project participants who are members of groups that have traditionally been underrepresented based on race, color, national origin, gender, age, or disability. In addition, the Secretary considers the following factors: the extent to which the goals, objectives, and outcomes to be achieved by the proposed project are clearly specified and measurable, the extent to which there is a conceptual framework underlying the proposed research and demonstration activities and the quality of that framework, the extent to which the services to be provided by the proposed project reflect up-to-date knowledge from research and effective practice, the extent to which the training or professional development services to be provided by the proposed project are of sufficient quality, intensity, and duration to lead to improvements in practice among the recipients of those services, and the extent to which the TA services to be provided by the proposed project involve the use of efficient strategies, including the use of technology as appropriate and the leveraging of non-project resources. In determining the quality of the project evaluation, which is worth up to 15 points, the Secretary considers the following factors: the extent to which the methods of evaluation are thorough, feasible, and appropriate to the goals, objectives, and outcomes of the proposed project, the extent to which the methods of evaluation provide for examining the effectiveness of project implementation strategies, the extent to which the methods of evaluation will provide performance feedback and permit periodic assessment of progress towards achieving intended outcomes, the extent to which the methods of evaluation include the use of objective performance measures that are clearly related to the intended outcomes of the project and will produce quantitative and qualitative data to the extent possible. For the adequacy of resources and quality of project personnel, which is worth up to 15 points, the Secretary considers the extent to which the applicant encourages applications for employment from persons who are members of groups that have traditionally been underrepresented based on race, color, national origin, gender, age, or disability. In addition, the Secretary considers the following factors: the qualifications, including relevant training and experience of the project director or principal investigator, the qualifications, including relevant training and experience of key project personnel, the qualifications, including relevant training and experience of project consultants or subcontractors, the qualifications, including relevant training, experience, and independence of the evaluator, the adequacy of support, including facilities, equipment, supplies, and other resources from the applicant organization or the lead applicant organization, the relevance and demonstrated commitment of each partner in the proposed project to the implementation and success of the project, the extent to which the budget is adequate to support the proposed project, the extent to which the costs are reasonable in relation to the objectives, design, and potential significance of the proposed project. In looking at the quality of the management plan, which is worth up to 25 points, the Secretary considers the following factors: the adequacy of the management plan to achieve the objectives of the proposed project on time and within budget, including clearly defined responsibilities, timelines, and milestones for accomplishing project tasks. The extent to which the time commitments of the project director and principal investigator and other key personnel are appropriate and adequate to meet the objectives of the proposed project. The adequacy of mechanisms for ensuring high-quality products and services from the proposed project. How the applicant will ensure that a diversity of perspectives is brought to bear in the operation of the proposed project, including those of parents, teachers, the business community, a variety of disciplinary and professional fields, recipients or beneficiaries of the service, or others as appropriate. There are some additional application requirements, including in Appendix A, personnel loading charts and timelines as applicable to illustrate the management plan described in the narrative. In the budget, including attendance at required events, which are specified in the NIA, including in the budget a line item for an annual set aside of 5% of the grant amount to support emerging needs that are consistent with the proposed project's intended outcomes. Maintaining a high-quality website with an easy-to-navigate design that meets government or industry-recognized standards for accessibility. And in Appendix A, an assurance to assist OSEP with the transfer of pertinent resources and products and to maintain the continuity of services to states during the transition to this new award period and at the end of this award period. Other general requirements include recipients of funding under this competition must make positive efforts to employ and advance in employment qualified individuals with disabilities. See Section 606 of IDEA. Applicants for and recipients of funding must, with respect to the aspects of their proposed project relating to the absolute priority, involve individuals with disabilities or parents of individuals with disabilities ages birth through 26 in planning, implementing, and evaluating the project. See Section 682A1A of IDEA. Now let's talk about the submission information. The application package is available on grants.gov. You'll see the website at the bottom of this slide, and includes an applicant letter, notice inviting applications, including copies of the Federal Register notice, notice of final priority and definitions, and grants.gov system submission procedures and tips for applicant. It also includes priority description and selection criteria and general information, as well as required forms. Applications must be submitted electronically using grants.gov. They may not be submitted via email. They must be submitted no later than 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on August 22nd, 2022. Application narrative selections and other attachments to the application must be uploaded as PDF read-only, non-modifiable format, or a Microsoft Word file. Format and page limit recommendations. These are recommendations. That is, a page is 8.5 by 11 inches on one side only with 1-inch margins. Double space all text in the application narrative, including titles, headings, footnotes, quotations, reference citations, and captions, as well as all text in charts, tables, figures, graphs, and screenshots. Use a font that is 12 points or larger. Times New Roman, Courier, Courier New, or Arial is recommended. We also recommend that you limit the application narrative to no more than 70 pages. And some submission tips. Register early. Grants.gov registration takes many steps, including registration with the System for Award Management, or SAM. Registration on SAM usually takes 7 to 10 business days to complete, but can take several weeks. After registration, it takes an additional 24 to 48 hours for active SAM registrants to be available on grants.gov. Your organization needs to update its SAM registration annually, so be sure that your registration is current. Also, ensure your organization has obtained a unique entity identifier, as it will be required to submit your grant. Submit early. Don't wait until the last day to submit your application. Grants.gov will put a date timestamp on your application after it is fully uploaded. If grants.gov rejects your application, you will need to resubmit before the deadline. And verify submission is okay. Verify that grants.gov received your submission on time and that it was validated successfully. Thank you for your time and for your interest in this opportunity. Again, my name is Rebecca Smith. I'm available at rebecca.smith@ed.gov if you have questions about this opportunity. If you have questions about submission of your grant, I would highly recommend contacting the grants.gov support desk at 1-800-518-4726 or support@grants.gov. You can also obtain grants.gov training at the website listed on this slide and is also in the NIA. And you can obtain a recording of this pre-application webinar along with the slides at the website listed below, www.ed.gov/fund/grant/new-osep grants.html. Thank you so much, and I look forward to receiving your applications.